course. Let's now turn our attention to project governance. Project governance is essential in managing, controlling and monitoring all projects and essentially includes the following elements. It's a separation between meetings and reporting. Checkpoint meetings are regular weekly project review meetings with your close project team. Stakeholder meetings is usually a monthly meeting with key stakeholders to discuss current status of the project, together with key risks, issues, and possible escalations. Steering board meetings is a more formal monthly meeting designed to give senior project stakeholders, the project board or steering committee, an overall picture of the project's status and its benefits realization. You may use a mixture of these meetings, tailored according to your individual project's needs and commitments by your group executive team. Good project governance is all about good communication. And over the course of the project lifecycle, it may be necessary to set up regular or ad hoc meetings and conference calls to target specific risks, issues, actions, and other such showstoppers. Early visibility to all concerned is the key message. It is very useful to have at least 2 short, agile checkpoint calls each week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Calls should last no more than about 20 minutes to clarify such things as what's gone well, what's not gone so well, what are we going to do now, and what do we need help with. In times of project stress or at very important milestones of project delivery, a daily stand-up may be required. Reporting is key to providing all interested parties to your project with the right information at the right time with what is appropriate and suitable for their needs and requirements. There are 3 basic key reports, although others may be required if needed or requested. Firstly, checkpoint reports. A checkpoint report is usually provided by the work package owner or team manager to the project manager on the current work package status. These reports are usually provided weekly, but can be delivered at any frequency depending upon requirements of the project. Steering board reports. A weekly report provided by the project manager to the program manager or senior stakeholders or project sponsor on the current project status. These reports are usually provided monthly, but can be delivered at any frequency depending upon the requirements of the project. Highlight report contents can vary, but as a minimum should contain the following information: the highlights, what's the forward plan, issues and actions. It should also include a performance plan, successes and challenges and actions. In all cases, it's important to date the report and include the current brag status of the project. Is it blue, which is complete? Is it red, amber or green, to use a traffic light symbol? Project closure report is a final report delivered by the project manager at the end of the project to all respective project stakeholders to review the project and highlight the project's successes and its opportunities. Managing and controlling any project or piece of work can be a challenge, and it can mean many things to many people. But essentially, it's focused on the delivery of the project's objectives to deliver the project's business benefits to time, cost, and quality as per the project's brief, based on the business case. Management and control of a project is usually done in chunks or stages or phases, which are often separate but interlinked and interconnected sections of work packages or tasks, carried out by different sets of people with specific expertise and experience in an area of work that is required for your project. This will often involve many of the following activities, such as setting up project controls and governance, such as regular checkpoint calls and communications, as well as maintenance of the stakeholders and resources list. Managing, chasing, maintaining and monitoring issues, risks and actions registers. Facilitation of risk and issue mitigation and resolution. Maintenance of the project plan. Dealing with changes to project scope, tasks, resource and timescales. Dealing with escalations. Provision of ad hoc reports and presentations. And representation on various internal or external calls in respect to your project. Maintaining a good project team is as much about the provision of good communication and facilitation as it is about maintaining and enhancing relationships. A project built on trust and openness is far better than a project built on suspicion and secrecy. Please do not forget the thank yous and recognition, both of which go a long way in building lasting loyalty, buy-in, and maintaining good and lasting teamwork that will pay dividends in future projects. It is always people that make projects work and help to achieve the project benefits. Exercise 8 is about managing and controlling a project. So again, using the project example you used in Exercise 1, what were some of the ways you managed and controlled the project? Take 10 minutes or so to discuss either in pairs or in teams or groups. Pause the video and then return to the video to carry on. Escalation. Occasionally, it may be necessary to raise an escalation for risks or issues that cannot otherwise be resolved. This should only be used as a very last resort, when all other avenues of risk and issue resolution have been followed. The escalation process should ideally be discussed as part of your project brief and project initiation discussions. Details of your escalation following on from a noted risk or issue should be explicitly stated. Information about the escalation can be drawn from your risks and issues register and any further background information you may have. Further to this, you might be asked to provide additional information and to raise ad hoc conference calls with the key stakeholders associated with the respective risk issue escalation. Let's talk about scope creep, tolerance, and exception once again. So let's remember scope. The scope of a project is the total of its deliverables and the extent of their requirements. The scope is developed from the business case, defined within the project initiation meeting, and detailed in the project brief. Scope creep. This is a very special mention. Scope creep refers to changes, continuous or uncontrolled growth in a project scope at any point after the project begins. It can occur when the scope of a project is not properly defined, documented, or controlled, and it's usually considered a bad thing and something to be avoided. Therefore, it is important to denote what is in scope and what is out scope in the project brief, and to keep a close eye on the possible scope creep throughout the life cycle of the project. Tolerance is the permissible deviation above and below a project plan's target for time and cost without escalating the deviation to the next level of project management. There may be tolerances given for levels of quality, scope, benefit, and risk. It can be applied at project stage or phase or work package levels. A project tolerance can be discussed and agreed at project initiation, or it can be explicitly stated in the project's business case or project brief. It may also be necessary to discuss this with senior stakeholders, and most importantly, the business case, project owner, or customer. An exception is a situation where it can be forecasted that there will be a deviation beyond the tolerance afforded to the project. In other words, it's the levels agreed between the project manager and the project board and senior stakeholders. Managing a project by exception is the activity whereby we prepare a plan for the project's appropriate management level to show the actions required to recover from the effect of a tolerance deviation. If it's approved, the exception plan will then replace the plan that is in exception, and it will become the new project stage or phase plan. So let's put it in brief. Prepare your exception report, then review it with your project board, and if agreed, replace the project and stage plan accordingly. Benefits management. Benefits management is to be able to manage, monitor, and control all elements of the changes that the project seeks to make to acquire the objectives and benefits and the desires and or expected by the project's customers, stakeholders, etc. To achieve this, one must understand and be able to articulate 4 things. Firstly, the enablers. Enablers are things which will actively allow change to take place, and the resource that each enabler will require to make this happen. We also need to look at the business change. What is the change the business, the project, seeks to make, and the reasons or purpose why such a change is required? We also need to look at the business benefit. why such a change is necessary, and what the positive benefits it will bring in terms of time, cost, or quality as part of a package of managed activity. Finally, the strategic benefit shows how such benefits will make a positive alignment to the overall business plans or objectives it seeks to obtain. Enablers lead to business change leads to business benefit, and business benefit leads to the strategic objective. But when managing benefits, it is always vitally important to refer back to the project's business case to ensure that we are realizing the vision of the project.